Wowee, friends, what a rainy day we have here in Sydney, Australia today. It is pelting down and apparently it's going to be wet for the week. So don't know if you can hear the rain and the wind pelting on the office window, but welcome to the show. Hopefully this interview with a very special guest will brighten up the day. Her name is Nadia Vella-Taranto. She's a studio owner, a teacher, a talent agent and a mum. She's also the founder of Nadia's Performance Studio, one of Sydney's largest and most vibrant studios, and she's spent over 20 years helping young performers grow in confidence, creativity and capability. She's got a background in acting for stage and screen and a deep love for teaching, which is why she created Set the Scene, to make it easy for dance studio owners to bring magic of acting into their spaces. Now, we're going to talk about Set the Scene. We're going to talk about her journey as a studio owner, how she created, after many years of studio ownership, she went on to create a drama program that is now available in studios across Australia, the US and Canada. She's also going to talk about, how to build confidence in the classroom and how to really create an inclusive environment as well, especially in a drama situation. I actually tap into that because sometimes, with drama and scripted classes and plays and shows, you need to think about how to feature everyone in the classroom, regardless of ability or, who's the loudest or the quietest kid in the room. So we really want to talk about that and how you can help them express themselves and shine both on and off stage. Yeah, so anyway, we're going to talk about Set the Scene. We're going to talk about her studio ownership journey, all that jazz. I also want to mention before we kick into the show that if you are interested in Set the Scene, we've got some links in the show notes that you can click through and check it out. All right, everybody, let's jump in. I'm Josephine Lancuba and welcome to Studio Talent Collective, the podcast for dance and performing arts studio owners. Here we share industry insights, inspiring stories and real talk to help you build a thriving studio and in-house talent agency. As a performing arts business coach and talent agent, I'm all about dreaming big and growing together as a community. You're in the right place. Let's leap in. Before you meet Nadia, I'd love to tell you about Studio Talent Collective, the talent agency. If you're a studio owner that wants to plug and play a talent agency into your studio business, then contact us. Head to studiotalentcollective.com or head to the link in the show notes. Enjoy the show. Welcome, Nadia Vella-Taranto, to the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jo.
Look, we've had quite a few chats of recent. We're very aligned. I love that. Now, you are the founder of Set the Scene and, of course, the director of Nadia's Performance Studio. So studio ownership, you're running this wonderful program as well. We're going to talk about all the things. But before we jump into that, let's start with your studio background because a lot of the people listening are studio owners themselves. Tell us a little bit about, when you first opened your studio and how did that come about?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, yes, I am a studio owner. So I've had my studio, Nadia's Performance Studio in Wetherill Park, Sydney, for 22 years. I can't believe that. And so I went to uni and I studied acting and I thought that was going to be my big one and only profession, even though I did dance and sing my whole life. But when I finished university, I did do some dabbling in acting, but my old studio owner, who had a tiny little dance studio with literally 24 kids, when I came back from university, she said, would you like to have the school? Which came as a big shock to me. So I ran her little tiny studio for 1 year just to decide, is this really what I want? And of course, I fell in love with teaching and I've always loved kids. And so straight up the next year, I turned it into Nadia's Performance Studio and it quickly expanded. And it has been really my first baby for many years until I had my own real babies.
What do you think it is that took it from that studio that had 24 students for
Yeah.
so long to then once you kind of took it over, it began to grow? What was that? What was the X factor, do you think? What was
Yeah.
the thing that actually helped it move beyond that small hobby studio?
Yeah, well, it was that for my studio, for my old dance principal. Loved her. She was a beautiful dancer, obviously, beautiful dance teacher, but it was her hobby. And
Mm,
when I took it on, I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it properly. And I want to teach children all the performing arts styles. So, what was her little jazz and tap dance studio? Very quickly, I brought in straight up from the get-go, brought in ballet, singing, and acting. And we were an all-round performing arts studio from the very beginning. And my energy, my passion, my enthusiasm, brought in all the kids.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. You were a performer yourself. Tell us about your performance career and what that sort of looked like.
Yeah, well, I was sort of at that crossroads moment. So as soon as I finished university, I could have gone solely into acting. I won a big scholarship at the end of my university degree, and I got to go to study at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London. And I could see there was something happening, and I got an agent straight away, and I was landing jobs on TV commercials and that sort of thing. But like I said, once I started doing my teaching
Mm.
and running the studio, that quickly became my focus. So, yes, I did dabble. I did a bit of acting, plays, TV commercials, little short TV stints and things. But once I started teaching, that's where my focus went.
That was your love language.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why did you lean into acting? Like what about drama and acting kind of was the draw card for you, do you think?
It
Opposed to the
chooses
other
you.
performing arts. I mean, you're obviously still,
Yeah, I still dance,
involved and doing, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a director of the Australian Australasian Dance Association. So, big, huge dance association. I've got all my jazz and tap teaching diplomas and all of that. Love to dance. Love to dance. But I love to act. And I think because you're an actor too.
Yeah.
When you stand on that stage and you can transport your audience to somewhere new, you can be something new that you aren't usually yourself. It's just so fun and it's just so freeing. And I think just with like all performing arts, your genre calls you. You
Mm.
know if you're a singer and you know if you're a dancer and you know if you're an actor. I was lucky I was able to do a bit of everything, but for me, just acting has just been this amazing passion, and sharing it with kids at the studio that for the last 20 something years has been incredible. Not only to see that spark of creativity found in some of my students, but just the confidence that it's given so many of them, and just this place where they can come and just be free and try new things and make new friendships. It's fabulous.
I think acting is underrated actually by a lot of dance studios. A lot of dance studios don't offer drama, and I think that they absolutely should. It can actually aid performance overall. I mean, especially even from a dancer's perspective, you
Oh,
know,
of course.
and just from a confidence perspective and
Yes.
stepping outside the box. I mean, I even know with my own daughter, she's 10 now, but she was very anxious to do certain things, but in the classroom or not be the one to go for the lead role or do all those sorts of things. But when it
Mhm.
came to her performance, we were always so stunned, me and my husband, every time we watched her, because we're like, my God, who is that kid? And she'd just do it. It's amazing how they get up there and they can blow you away with their confidence and they've memorized these lines you didn't even know they were practicing. And,
Yes.
it's just really special. And I think there is something in that for sure. And it's not even about the lead role. I think there's a misconception there by a lot of parents. Like, my kid has never been the lead role of anything, but we don't really care, and nor
No.
does she. I think that changing that expectation as well. Do you find that it is challenging in a drama room? Because in a dance, yes, you've got the front row, the center front person, like the soloist.
Mhm.
In a drama space, sometimes, especially with script work, it can be very heavy on a couple of characters of the show, and then you've got your ensemble. What's your thoughts around teaching when it comes to these sorts of, there's obvious discrepancies when it comes
Yeah.
to featuring in a script. Like, how do you manage that in a
Okay. Well,
recreation classroom?
yes. Okay. So this was a huge thing for me. I love everything you just talked about, by the way. And I'm so glad that you said it because, first and foremost, I feel that, and this is why I created Set the Scene in the first place, because it only dawned on me about a year ago that most dance studios were too afraid to dabble into acting because they hadn't done it themselves. And when I realized, oh, this is a gift that I have been given, and I've been doing it just, because I knew how to do it. But then when I stopped and realized, well, most dancers wouldn't know where to go. They don't have an actor in their community or someone in their studio who could teach this. Well, I thought if I could just create a program that any of them can pick up themselves, or anyone of their team, even if it was one of their senior students who was very enthusiastic and loved to perform and nurture kids. If I created the right program, then we could bring that joy of acting and the very special features that acting bring out in a child to studios everywhere. And I've been so blessed because already we now have 45
Ooh,
studios in Australia. Yes, somebody bought it yesterday. We now have 45 studios around Australia who have taken on Set the Scene, and already in 1 term and a half are telling me these exact things. They've seen their dancers become more expressive. They've seen these dancers who may have been in the very back corner and didn't even know that they were funny and they had this spark and could be a leader in a classroom in a different style. So it's bringing out all sorts of new revelations within the classroom, within the teachers as well. But going back to the last question that you just asked me, which was
just this, managing those expectations in a script
yes.
and
So
having those
yes,
different levels
that's
of
where this was
feature.
going. Yes. So one of the biggest problems I found with teaching acting over the years was finding plays that were fair,
Mm.
because you would have one child who is the main role and have to carry the whole show and maybe have 50 to 100 lines. And then you have these poor other actors in the background who don't say much at all. And well, that's no fun when you're rehearsing that. It's no fun on that lead character either, who has to carry the whole show. And they're all still children just developing. So we've taken that pain away and we write our own scripts, and they come as part of the Set the Scene package. So every year, studio owners receive new plays, new monologues, new two-hander scenes that are fair. So our plays, we workshop them within our own studio first, and when we're happy with them, then we deliver them to you. But they are written so that everybody gets an equal go.
Yeah.
And you don't have that problem of one kid owning the whole show and put that show on their shoulders. It is really an ensemble. So everybody gets a part. And the beauty of it as well is that studio owners or teachers can edit these scripts.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
they
yeah, because
may,
unlike, just for anyone listening, when
yeah.
you go into licensing, and that's what you're
Mm,
referring to, you
mm.
can't edit the script. So if you buy Frozen the musical from Disney, you can't rewrite it. You can't change the gender of the roles. It doesn't mean that a girl can't play a boy and a boy can't play a girl, but you can't change like the pronouns. You can't do, like, you cannot change the script technically in a licensing environment, which means you can't write someone in that deserves a role where there wasn't enough characters for or whatever.
That's right. And what
Yeah,
happens if
so
you
I do
have,
get what you mean by that, because
yeah,
that does get a bit challenging
yeah.
sometimes.
And what happens if you have last minute enrollments? Do you say no because we don't have enough parts for you? Like this
Yeah.
allows you to share roles, cut roles, do whatever you need to, because everybody's classroom environment is going to look different. I may have 20 in my class, but you may have 10. So let's divide the roles to share them between everybody. Yeah.
Mm-mm. I think as well, it's about managing expectations sometimes of parents as well. Like I think I know when, because I ran a musical theatre studio for many years, and obviously musical theatre is very much bound by the license, right? But we would
Yes.
do things, even if, you know, with the ensemble, we'd bring them on for more scenes than might be scripted in the sense of not necessarily with dialogue, but just in the sense of, okay, well, this is a fruit market. Bring the ensemble on in the background, get them moving through the fruit market,
Mhm.
exchanging, you know, bread and someone being sellers and buying, and just get them in the scene, being a part of the action, even if it's not in the script. So you can be creative for sure. But yeah, I think managing the parent expectations of lead roles was probably the thing, because if you can have that positive culture in the classroom and have those conversations in the classroom, then it's actually not usually the kids that are the problem. I'll never forget this one time we did Aladdin, and this mum was horrific because her son didn't get the role of Aladdin. And she came in, she busted into the studio, and she says, "My son deserves the role more than him," in front of the other boy. And I went, wow, that's next
Wow.
level stuff. By the way, we let them go because I
Yeah.
won't tolerate that.
No.
But this sort of programming that you're talking about, you know, where you have these flexible scripts and you can work
Yeah.
to people's strengths,
Yeah.
essentially is what you're saying, um, is good because it does kind of eliminate the mum barging through the door demanding
Well,
that her son is
exactly.
Aladdin.
That's right. So the mums and dads don't know these characters. They don't know these plays. There's no,
Expectation.
prerequisite. Yeah, yeah, exactly. We're not going, okay, we're doing a musical all about Aladdin. It's not that. We are telling stories. And we're teaching the children to work as an ensemble and use and to their strengths. The teacher will know who is more confident and can have more lines. And even if the child only has a few lines, as long as they're present on stage and participating. You know, my youngest is 5 years old, and she's much less vocal than her 8-year-old sister. And she started her set the scene acting classes this year. And I thought, there is no way she is going to stand up in front of that whole class and deliver some lines.
Mm.
But within her first term, she was given one of our mini monologues because we have some monologues for our 5 and 6-year-olds that are 2 lines. So they don't need to be able to read them because they may not be able to necessarily read yet, but they can memorize them very easily. And she took home her little script of 2 lines and she memorized her mini monologue. And the next week she performed it in front of the entire class perfectly.
Yeah.
I was in shock. But it just shows you, you know, in the right environment, in the right space where it's all about nurture and just confidence building and having fun, kids
Mm.
will blossom.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned you have a 5-year-old. You've got two girls, is that right?
Yes, I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. My 8-year-old is on all the set the scene posters. She's the one that has her hands to her face in that shocked expression.
Love it. Got to use the kids' family business.
Family business. They could take over so mummy can retire one day. So yeah, they're my children. And my eldest, you know, we were talking about earlier, your daughter. My eldest loves writing scripts and, you know, it's in her blood. But I can see she's fabulous at public speaking. Fabulous. The speeches she puts together and her thought processes about it. You know, she knows how to deliver a speech that's engaging with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and to have a hook at the beginning. And she's got all of that naturally, but she's got it from her acting classes.
Mm.
And I don't really have to help her too much along the way. And she knows how to use eye contact and she speaks clearly and she looks at her audience. These are life skills.
Mm.
And whether these children go on to make a career out of it or not, I want every child in these classes to learn the life skills of listening, being an active participant in conversation, because that skill is being lost. You know, you walk through any studio hallway, and I'm sure mine's not the only one, where our children are all sitting beside each other on devices.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know what you
especially
mean.
my
Yeah.
teenagers, they're all in the hallway, all sitting on the floor on their own devices. And I feel like ripping those devices out of their hands and saying, talk to each other. They talk to each other in class when the class starts,
Yeah,
when they're
no,
not
it's
supposed to
true.
talk.
There's definitely a shift with
There's a
kids
shift.
in their way that they socialize.
Yes.
And yeah, I see it especially in the teens actually that like my nieces and nephews.
Yep.
It's wild that they can just sit there and just be on devices like at a family gathering the entire time, completely ignoring each other. Like I remember when we were
So
younger,
sad.
we would play with our cousins like
Yeah. They're
wildly.
your best memories, right?
Yeah, and it's just insane that that's what that is now. It's a little sad. And I think, even if it has to be in a structured environment like a classroom, then at least they're learning those skills because those skills, they go with them for their lives, that's for sure. I would love to talk about the balance of things because I know that, first of
Sure.
all, you've got your studio, you've got
Hmm.
Set the Scene, you've got two beautiful kids. You've also got a talent agency, don't you?
I have a talent agency and an Eisteddfod, Joe.
You have an Eisteddfod. I didn't know you had an Eisteddfod. Which Eisteddfod do you run?
Sydney Stars on Show. We run
Right.
every October, and it's a sold out weekend every October. So yes, I was making my lists this morning and I thought, geez, I've got a lot coming up.
Yeah. So, okay. So amongst all the things,
Yeah.
and I actually understand all the things.
Yes. Yes. Because
Like
you've lived it.
I know
Yes.
what all the things means from a scheduling perspective
Hmm.
and a capacity perspective.
Hmm.
How do you do it? Because, everyone has different techniques. I know there's studio owners out there that are probably juggling a whole bunch of things as well,
Oh,
families, studio life, the costume orders, all the
oh,
things. So
yep.
what do you think makes it possible? Or is it
Yep.
is it struggle street? Like what does that look like for you guys?
Ah, look, even though I get called Superwoman, Wonder Woman sometimes by some people, which is lovely. No, it can be struggle street for sure. Um, you know, a huge thing is building up the right team around you, number one. Without the right team, without the right support network, you can't do this. And I was actually having this conversation with my husband last night because Set the Scene is really taking off and it's, wonderful. It's exactly what I dreamt for it. But as that grows, other things will have to slow in my life, and it's about delegating to the right people. I'm very lucky. I am very lucky that I'm doing this 20 years into running my studio because with my studio now, I'm at the point where I teach the classes I want to teach. I'm there when I need to be there, but I get to choose my hours. Had I done this 10 years ago, I wouldn't have coped. So
Mm.
just having the right team, I have amazing admin staff. My teachers are all brilliant. I'm very blessed that I have 36 staff and 92% of them were my students. So they know my expectations. They run things the way I would like them to be run. And that's the trust factor. Without having people around you that you trust, you can't fly. You really can't. And I'm so very, very grateful that I trust my staff. And I think that's the whole thing with Set the Scene is that yeah, you can bring in people from the outside world, an actor, and I love actors, don't get me wrong. Yes, still hire actors to teach. That's fine. You've got a program to share with them. But if you can't, use your trusted staff and give them great tools so that they can continue on your work, your legacy in building the right business the way you want it to be built.
Mm.
But yeah, I guess going back to the juggling and the struggling, I went to a conference last weekend and that was 4 days away from my children. And that was the first time I had ever done that. And that was hard. I had mum guilt and all of that, but they survived. Even though my 5-year-old now follows me around the house every step I take, she says, "Where are you going?"
I know. Oh, mum guilt is real, isn't it? Like,
Mum guilt is real.
I remember my daughter was 6 months old and I had an opportunity to, because I'm in Sydney, I had an opportunity to run workshops in Queensland. And it was a good opportunity and I took it, but I was only away, she was 6 months old. That was hard. I was only away for a couple of days. You could have told me it felt like a couple of weeks, a couple of months.
Mm.
And to the point where I was the one crying, calling my husband, going, "Oh my God, I've got to come home. Like, is she okay?" Oh, he's like, "We're fine." I said, "Should I book an earlier flight to go?" No, it's okay.
I understand. I understand. Mine are older, they're five
Yeah,
and eight, and still that was hard. But anyway, yeah, it's just about finding the right people. And
that's
you
right.
know what? Saying no sometimes. It's
Mm.
okay to say no. You can't say yes to everything.
You
And
can't say yes to everything, but
it's
you'll
okay to
also
say
get
no.
better at learning what to say yes and no to as you go along the journey, don't you?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
having that clarity of what you actually want, and like you said, knowing which lever to pull when and which one to kind of ease off. Because
Exactly.
if you're growing one thing, maybe the other one that could be not as profitable or not as fulfilling or not gaining as much traction, you might go, well, if this is the thing that's actually gaining the traction I'm really engaged in right now, then, but then we don't want to also suffer from like shiny object syndrome
True. True.
either.
No, it's about taking the steps, like doing it one step at a time and just
Mm,
listening. Like I'm a very spiritual person. I listen to all the signs and like you said, pulling the right levers and knowing which direction to go to. I think it's easy to get stuck in a mindset too. When I started my studio, it really grew so quickly and it expanded and I moved into this huge factory unit and then we built it up and it just kept going and building. And I thought in my mind, this is it. Like I've reached the top. I've got everything I wanted. And then Set the Scene came along.
yeah,
And my
100%.
children obviously came along in the meantime. But different things are going to come your way, good and bad. And you just need to roll with the punches and take one step at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. Who or what inspires you most?
Good question. There definitely are people in our industry who have done some great things, and we have some champions here in Australia who
Mm.
have created programs that are just, really taken off around the world, and they're creating brands and communities. So definitely, some of the Australian women doing that ahead of me. I've definitely been looking up to them. Um, yeah, I think right now, with how Set the Scene is developing, yes, I'm looking at other studio owners slash program creators who have done what I am doing. And yeah, they're really inspiring me at the moment without
Yeah, I
mentioning
love
any
that.
names.
What's next for Nadia? What's happening?
Well, Set the Scene, like I said, it's only been one term and a half, here in Australia. So it hasn't even been half a year yet. And now studios who have taken on Set the Scene are starting to put on their mid-year productions, which are
Mm.
very exciting, and they're using our scripts. We've just had an acting competition run between the studios. So they've all been sending in their screen tests, their children acting on screen tests. So that's very exciting. We've been watching some brilliant things being created by some of the studios, and some of these studios happen to be part of Student Talent Collective. So
Yes.
great work there, Joe.
Yeah, yeah. So that's actually how we connected, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
a lot of the studios inside of Set the Scene are also part of Studio Talent Collective, which is, of course,
Yes.
my, agency, talent agency, which, supports studio owners in having that in-house talent agency within their business. But yeah, and I think that there is an alignment there because you have an agency in-house, it helps that they can self-tape and understand the audition process and understand how to act to camera, for example. Even if they're a dancer, people don't realize that these days that initial audition, even for a dancer, a singer, or whatever, is actually on camera and is self-tape. And that in itself is confidence on camera and skills. Like you still need to have, that's what I mean by that drama element in a dance school. It is important. So there is an alignment between what we do for sure. And that's kind of how we connected. But yes, so a lot of your clients are my clients and my clients are your clients, and it works beautifully.
Yeah, it's great. I love helping each other. If I can help them practice their skills in the classroom and behind the camera, that's great because you're going to help them then land jobs. And, it goes hand in hand. And it's great to get a casting, but if you've never practiced doing a self-tape, well, your first one's probably not going to be your best. We're seeing, eye lines in the wrong spot and just general filming things that could be improved on. And
Mm,
um, even just the ID, presenting as a clear and enticing ID, smile, that's
yes.
great. A casting director wants to see your face lit up. Do you do you light up that screen when you're in front of it? That's huge. Just practicing those things. And yes, like you said, dancers need to have this skill, but I think because the whole world is online these days, we're all on Zoom. Many of these kids, some of these kids could turn into influencers. They
Yes.
could have their own channels, YouTube channel or whatever. Like these are important skills. They need to know them in this day and age. So
Yeah. We
yeah.
actually just launched our influencer um, offer inside of our agency. So we only take on people that have a certain amount of following that we already represent. Like our studios have students that have followings.
Wow.
So that's a new sort of division that we've just started. And we've taken on a couple of our studios have, students with a good following that we've
Wow.
taken on as influencers
Oh, that's
because it
cool.
is undeniably a space that is growing, and it's a little bit unfortunate, but we are seeing it in some casting calls for even commercials where they may ask
They do.
for the following.
Yeah, they do.
It's not as prevalent, but it is
No, but
happening,
sometimes, yes,
sliding in. Have you noticed?
I have. But
Yeah.
I think what's really important is that it's done ethically. These are
Yes,
kids,
absolutely.
and this has always been a thing of mine, is that it's wonderful to get these kids castings, but as long as it's done, ethically
Yeah.
and not for the wrong reasons,
Yes.
and kids still kids should have fun.
That's what
And
I reckon too. That's why we don't actually request, like people say, oh, should we start a social media? No, you
no,
shouldn't. You should, if you already do it, that's
then
one
that's
thing.
fine.
Then let's
Yes,
manage it and make sure that you have advocacy and are
yes.
getting the right deals and the right people contacting you and barriers to entry and contact.
Yes. And
That's
adults are
important.
overseeing this. You know,
Correct.
100% would I ever recommend to any of my dance mums go start an Instagram account for your child? No,
No, I wouldn't
no,
either, but some of them are already doing it and they
I
shouldn't be
understand.
judged. Let's look after them and do it
Sure.
properly. And that's the
I
way I see
understand.
it.
Same,
Yeah.
same. I agree. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of effort though to keep up, people don't realize. People think you just whack up a YouTube channel and you're a rock star. No way.
Yeah,
These people
no,
are
it's
around the
work.
clock. It is work. It's
It's work.
content creation.
It's work.
It's
Can they
work.
keep up with their homework at the same time?
I know, right? Crazy.
My kids struggle.
Um, I would like to ask you two more little things. Okay. So when it comes to success, because right now, people call you Superwoman, you said, right? Even though you may say, oh, I don't know about that title. But let's
Mhm.
say from the outward looking in, the perception is that you have success. So
Sure.
what is success to you? How would you define it? Do you feel successful right now? Like, how do you define that?
Yeah, sure. I think success is the measure that um, how can I say, you have your own goals. Everyone has their own goals. And it's about reaching those goals at any point. Yeah, I've got big, long-term, big goals that I haven't met yet. I'm working towards them. But every step along the way where I accomplish something, I feel successful. And I think it's important, like, one, to know when enough is enough. Don't just keep chasing the shiny objects, just to keep chasing and just to keep making more money. It's not about that. And I don't think success is money either, because you can have lots of money, but be very unhappy or very burnt out
Mm,
or not have all the pieces. I think success is about having that balance. For me, I'm very blessed. I have a wonderful husband. I have two healthy, beautiful daughters. I have a loving family right around me. I have wonderful friends who truly care about me and are happy for my success and are there for me when things aren't good too. I have a wonderful studio community that I've built. I have a great team. And now I have a bigger community of Set the Scene studios who are all friendly and lovely, and we're all, learning from each other. So I feel successful because I have the balance and I
mm,
feel good in so many, and my health, and I have my health.
Yeah.
And that's so important. And at any moment, I know at any moment something bad could happen, right? And it's about, well, taking those steps day by day to just, keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for anyone that's interested in Set the Scene, we do have a couple of links in the show notes that you can head on through to. One for the Australia and another for the US. We actually have quite a few US listeners, mostly Australian, but we also have some friends in the USA. So if you're listening, you can absolutely check that out below as well. Those links are in the show notes. For anyone that's interested in Set the Scene, tell us in a nutshell, why should they do it?
Absolutely. This is the easiest way to implement a whole new revenue stream into your studio. It is plug and play. If you can watch the videos, you can teach the class. It's so easy that should you have a teacher away, you can pass on the app to another teacher within your studio who will have access to all the work as well and be able to carry on that class easily and seamlessly. The work progresses. It gives children milestones to work through, and you will very quickly start to see some wonderful confidence building in the classrooms. You will hear lots of laughter and lots of fun because the games and the exercises are truly fun. And we've had so many of our studio owners now tell us that even some of their most hesitant dancers who tried the class were very quickly transformed and said that Set the Scene is now their favorite class of the week. So there's been some great transformation stories and wonderful revenue building in some of these studios as well.
Yeah.
Some of these schools who had never had acting before now have classes full. And even if it's something that you only use to implement within classes that you already have, you may have a triple threat class or a musical theatre class. Well, you can use the exercises and the scripts and use them within your framework already. It's just very seamless and easy to use. There's heaps of support. And there's ongoing scripts coming your way. And yes, thank you for announcing America and Canada.
Yes.
Because Set the Scene is coming to them now. Our beautiful American and Canadian friends will have just finished their recitals and be on their summer break. So Set the Scene is coming your way. You'll see my face on all the ads soon.
Yay.
Yay. And it's very easy to implement. And yeah, we can't wait to see this take off overseas.
Yeah, I love that. So for all of our Australian, US and Canadian friends, the links are in the show notes so you can jump on in to Set the Scene. I know that we have had rave reviews from my clients inside of Studio Talent Collective. The agency have rave reviews in regards to the program, and they absolutely are loving it. And it's actually supporting their kids in that audition process as well and building their confidence. So thanks, Nadia, for all you do. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much, Jo.
This episode is brought to you by Studio Talent Collective, helping you go from studio owner to talent manager with confidence. Ready to start your own in-house talent agency? Connect with me at josephinelancuba.com or via the links in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, and review. Thanks for listening and keep shining.